I feel like the year 2020 is just a year of change. There have been a lot of protests. And I think things that have been going on for decades are really hitting a boiling point right now. Because of the pandemic, people are dying in the United States. There's wildfires destroying more than 1 million acres in Oregon now. Also devastation up and down the West Coast. People are learning to cope with things they've never dealt with before. For me personally, I'm out of my regular day job, and it kind of made me take a step back and think, how can I make work for myself? Right there.
One thing that fit right into Elizabeth Fennelly's quest for reinvention was an upcoming photography show.
It's called Oregon in Extraordinary Times, and it's put on by the Oregon Society of Artists.
Elizabeth decided to revive her interest in wet plate photography.
It's pretty disorganized. I knew I wanted to make this mobile darkroom. I knew I wanted to do a series of tintypes. So I started photographing people in the van community. Look at me for a second. That's good. But then I think it kind of unfolded deeper than that. I think for a lot of people, their van is their kind of safe haven.
Kind of staggered a little bit, like a 45.
Yeah, if you like turn towards me a little bit. Back up a little bit that way. Cool. That's their vehicle that they use to escape, the way that they feel solace. I started to realize with the pandemic and lockdown, the van is kind of the answer to that for a lot of people. This is a 4x5 camera from about 1915. To me, different processes work better with different subject matter. And I just felt like this was something that took more care and time than I would devote to it if I shot it in digital. I feel like digital photos to me are kind of a fleeting moment, and this didn't feel like a fleeting moment. I enjoy this process because I feel like I'm really just thinking about that moment I'm in, and like hours pass. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Cool. I like to control what I can, but I also accept that there's certain parts of this process I'm never going to be able to control. There's a whole other element to the photography that doesn't come from me. It's really incredible to see because I have no idea virtually what the image is going to look like. You guys want to come see? And sometimes it turns out really interesting.
Wow. That's a good one. I like it.
So different.
Yeah. Coming back to the wet plate process has been a long-term goal of mine, and this just felt like a time to focus on long-term goals. So I'm gonna enter some of the photos that I took today.
In case you've gotten as lost in the art of wet plate photography as Elizabeth has, the show she's making these images for is called Oregon in Extraordinary Times. And Portland photographer Mark Fitzgerald is judging it.
So these images came in yesterday afternoon, and I've just briefly scanned over them, and I'm seeing quite a range. People are finding all sorts of ways to cope with these extraordinary times. I'm going to be judging on 5 main things, and that is going to be impact, storytelling, artistic concept, creativity, and other things that can either make or break an image technically. So this one jumped out to me immediately because everybody knows what it's been like trying to get haircuts. It's got a fun element with the young man in the back smiling, and the other one sort of really focused on what he's doing. And the gentleman getting the haircut looks a little uncertain, like he's not sure if he was right to do this. So it's really great storytelling. I feel like it fits the show perfectly. So this is a great use of color. It's not the traditional way to use color, but the yellow kind of adds a sense of danger. It gives us this feeling that there's smoke in the air and it could be from tear gas. The menacing looks that I'm getting from these guys. So it really makes me want to know what the story is and makes me come up with different stories in my mind. And then we have one more here that is an older photo. It's like maybe in the 50s or something. And it's showing a different time when times were tough. So even though we're going through some really difficult times right now, it isn't the first time Oregon or our society has been put to the test. During these extraordinary times, it's a lot harder to put on a show like this because who knows what the opening is going to look like. Will people be able to come to the opening? But it made sense to do it now because there's going to be a lot more meaning to the images that are being shown.
Fortunately, the opening of the show managed to grab one of the last rainless October days. But the nearly 100-year-old Oregon Society of Artists was definitely playing it COVID safe.
All right, welcome everyone to OSA. We have wine and water and some snacks individually wrapped because that's the COVID way.
The OSA population is largely older, so we want to be extra cautious about their health. So we put the arrows on the floor mostly so that we can keep that traffic directed and the windows are open and the fans going, so we have a very safe space.
We are very blessed to have Mark as our juror for this particular show.
Thanks, Nancy. So this piece was selected for Best in Show. So I thought this piece did a really good job of telling a really interesting story about fear and anxiety. Best in Show is Sierra Swager. Congratulations.
I won Best in Show, which I did not expect at all, so that was awesome. I guess for me the idea is always to tell stories. It's what we want to do as photographers. We want to create an image that makes people think. It turned out to be kind of 2020 encapsulated. We're all stuck in this fear of a plague going around and protests and the fires, and it's this apocalyptic feeling that we all have. And I took that and I wanted to make art with it.
Some of the other outstanding images in the show included this highly crafted piece that seemed to reach right into our nightmares, or the way the natural world continues to amaze and inspire us no matter what's happening in our own lives. Or a subtle reminder that someday soon the sun will rise over Oregon's biggest city and a wispy cloud will crown her highest peak. Elizabeth Fennelly's tintypes were a bit smaller than the others, but they fit right in.
I really like seeing how this experience has been for other people. People really looked at it through their own lens the way I did. It was a lot about intimate moments in Oregon and how people felt like their own lives have changed. I like that I see small personal statements about each individual's life through their work, which is what I tried to do too.